Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. You already know who it is and who it's not. It ain't your boy and it is your man, the blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media, signing blacking and shining again. Asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I began to listen to SWP's upload entitled "We Was Chillin'." He's on to something. Pay attention to this. I can attest to this because I'm teaching English as a second language in a Gulf Arab country. Many students now are better than what they were 4 years ago. But this quarter, I wound up with some bad sections. As a matter of fact, a lot of this year, I've wound up with students who failed already and were repeating their levels, and they pretty much stuck me with a lot of that all 4 quarters this year, but especially so the very first quarter and the very last, this one. I remember the beginning of the last school year. This is before COVID. I had a student named Hassan, and he's from a larger city. His English was good. He helped his classmates to understand more English, and he even helped them to understand Arabic better because you see, these cats speak slang. So it was hard to get them to learn English correctly because they don't speak Arabic correctly. They'll just put the letter B at the beginning of a verb as if to say, I want. And I was really harsh with some students because they did not belong in that particular department at all, because we're not supposed to start with 1, 2, 3 and ABC. When they come to us, they're supposed to have some sentence construction, and then we polish it for them, and we teach them how to polish it themselves. They come to us after having had English for 7 years. They don't come to us and we're their first English teacher. And some of them came to us with not a single effing sentence of English, and we would rightly be frustrated and ask them, what the hell are you doing here? How many tests did you cheat to get here? No, go back and tell the admins you're not ready for this. Tell them you slipped through the cracks. We can't help you. There's nothing we can do at your level. You're going to have to write paragraphs in English and do presentations in English. They don't even know how to spell in their own language a lot of times. Certain nouns have feminine endings. 2 dots at the on top of the last letter will indicate this. They don't even want to put the 2 dots. They're so lazy they don't put the 2 dots in at the end. You know what that does? That changes the meaning. That changes it to a regular H. And that H usually is a possessive suffix at the end of a noun that means his. As an example, Sayara is car. It's a feminine noun. They write it Sayarahu, which is more like saying his vehicle. It could be pronounced the way they write it. It could be pronounced Sayarahi or Sayarahu, but it means something more like his vehicle instead of saying car. And they don't give a rat's behind. They'll take the name Samira, a feminine name. The masculine version of it is Samir. They'll spell it his Samir. That's stupid. And they'll write sentences in their own language with these misspellings and no punctuation and hand it to you like they just did something in their own language. You can't teach them English when they're that stupid and lazy in their own language, and they are lucking fazy even in their own language. They don't like to talk in complete sentences in their own language because that's how lazy they are. How will you get them to do the same thing in English? And one day Hassan said to me when I was telling the students, you're going to make a lot of mistakes in English and you're going to lose points. Every quarter you do this in your writing test. You will lose points until you learn to spell and punctuate in your own language. Then you will learn to spell, capitalize, and punctuate in English. Because see, in Arabic, you don't have capitals and lowercase letters, so there's no capitalization. But I have to tell them in English, if you don't do it, I'm taking points off every time. Every time. Because I think that at your age, I should be able to tell you once to capitalize the beginning of every sentence and the beginning of every formal name. And I should be able to tell you once to punctuate the end of every sentence, like similar to what you would do in Arabic, a full stop, meaning period, question mark, or an exclamation mark. I feel like you're old enough for me to tell you this once and you do it. And I keep having to make loud noises to scare you and startle you to get you to do it 9 times in 1 hour. Because you're either that stubborn or you're that stupid. And see, that's Bedouinism. But our son once asked me, tell me the truth, Professor Black. How come there are teachers that have been here 8 years and they haven't learned Arabic yet? Now, this was a loaded question. And I had to tell him there are 2 reasons for it. One is good and the other one is bad. One is they're bad, it's not yours. The other one is you're bad and it's not theirs. But to prove the point, think about these professors that you're talking about, teaching English but have never learned Arabic. Think about them, what they had in common. What race were they all? A light went off in Hassan's eyes and he said, they were white. And I told him exactly. The good reason that they have for not learning it is that you all suck at explaining it. You speak it, but you can't write it correctly. You won't punctuate, and you won't even speak your language properly. You speak dialects, but you don't speak the formal version of your language. You don't speak the Quranic version, definitely. You don't even speak the newscaster version. So, think about it. I can sit up and say to one of you right now, I can ask you an either or question and you will answer my either or question with a yes or a no. No, it's an either or question. If I say to you, are you good in basketball or football? You don't go, no. Now you could say neither one. You can say one of the two. But if I say, are you better at football or basketball? You don't say yes. Nick, I just ask you an either or question. And every single one of you that comes from Bedouin origins makes that mistake. If I ask you in Arabic, if I ask you in English, it doesn't matter. I've sat up and asked some of them questions and they've looked at me and not answered because they didn't even realize I was asking a question. And I was asking it correctly because I don't know the non-formal slang way to ask it. They wouldn't even realize it's a question. Just a little while ago, for the sunset prayer, I went to the mosque behind the building in which I lived. They were finishing, I was coming in. An old man stopped me and said, "You pray?" Now, you can say, "Do you pray?" But that would mean more like the routine. But what he wanted to say is, "Do you want to pray?" I said, "I came to pray," and I said it in a sentence. He started talking this chopped up, broken Arabic I can't understand. It's cavemanish. I said, "Sir, I don't understand you. I don't speak like a caveman. I speak the classical Arabic. If you speak at a medium speed, I'll understand you." He started talking even more broken. I said, okay, he's a dumb Bedouin, uneducated. Old as he is, this is one guy that never sat in a classroom, religious or secular. He's terribly uneducated. He cannot communicate with me. It's not because I didn't learn his language, it's because he didn't learn it. Now, why am I telling you all this and taking 10 minutes to do it? Well, it is to say that I believe that black folks should have our own English in Anglophone countries. They took our languages away from us by force. We should have our own. We should be able to code switch. We should definitely be able to code switch. We have to. Until we can come up with our own, we should code switch. If you were from the Caribbean and you one of the Anglophone islands of the Caribbean, you should be able to speak the informal English of your island and the formal English of the textbooks that you and we read and read as kids growing up in the classroom in the States and in the islands. But we should know both. Because as much as you can master it, different languages are a weapon. And if you can't get that, then you at least get the different dialects of one language, because it's better than not having it. If we don't have the ability to speak in a way that confuses them, we're going to be worse off. I can guarantee you that. And if we can't code switch, then we can't weaponize the knowledge of their English. Believe you me, it can drop some guards in some cases. In some cases. See, maybe in a traffic stop, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It may make you easier for an officer to understand, but if he's just intent on whooping your behind and shooting you, it won't help. But then again, you don't need to talk anyway. That's when you need to run. But if you're in the workplace and they're actually busy trying to get something done, you want to be able to explain something in a way that takes less time for them to grasp it, so that both of you can focus on what you're doing and trade useful information. Because I'm sorry, when you can't speak any language formally, and there are no classes to learn the informal slang you have, you just can't communicate. Sorry, we can't work together. It's not hatred, but we just can't. That's money we can't make. But Hassan asked the question, and I said to him, a good reason and a bad reason. Their good reason, which is you all's bad, is how do you explain Arabic? You suck at it. What if you don't know how to explain? What if you don't know the difference between the ha and the ta marbuta at the end of certain words? I have to argue with some of you about how to spell words in your own language. You can't teach someone how to speak it if you're not able to spell it correctly. That's not all. The other thing, too, is that they simply feel that they are superior and don't need to learn your language. That's the bad reason. Until the day that they lose that and you all lose the inferiority complex you have around them, they're not going to learn it. You see, everybody around here, even with me, and I'm not a white guy, but everyone around here, even with me, is going to do one or two things. They're going to talk to me in that broken Arabic that they use for servants from India and Pakistan that I can't understand because it doesn't make any sense grammatically, and I'm not going to understand them, or they're going to answer me in English. Nobody will even practice Arabic with me here, so I'm not going to get any better at it than what I am now. It's not possible. No one explains it. They don't even use it with me. I walk up to people, I speak to them in Arabic, and if they can't speak English, they'll speak to me in broken Arabic. We call it Hindubic sometimes, or Indibic, or Urdubic. That's how we refer to it at times. The grammar is broken, it's choppy. I don't know what they mean. A lot of vocabulary doesn't make sense to me. So it's one of those two. They're bilingual, they answer me in English. For all they know, I could be a Spanish speaker, but they answer me in English. If they can. They can't, they start talking like cavemen. Nope, you're going to confuse me. It doesn't make sense. This is going to be one of the ways in which people will become more animalistic. Now, we have a hadith that there are going to be people that get transformed into beasts.
Mentally, psychologically speaking, that day is approaching the way people are approaching language right now, by refusing to learn anything in a way that's sensible to large numbers of people. Many people only want to be able to communicate with folks right in their neighborhood or in a particular box and not outside of it. You got people here that don't even want to know how to communicate with Omanis. Don't really want to know how to communicate with Yemenis or Iraqis. Since they got different dialects, they don't want to. If you don't have exactly their accent, they right off the bat can't understand you. That's why when I speak to them in Arabic, I speak to them in Arabic. I don't have specifically the local accent, and they go right to, I'm sorry, I don't speak English. Yeah, I didn't say anything to you in English. Speak Arabic, man. Yeah, I did. I just talked to you in Arabic. How long have you been here? I just talked to you in Arabic. You still haven't learned Arabic? You know what? You're a dummy. You're an idiot. You're a retard. It's not me, it's you. And I've had to say some mean things to some people before. I mean, there was there was a brother. Second to last time that I was in Medina, there was a brother that was carrying us from the hotel to the car to the hotel's parking lot, and they were blocks apart. So he was driving us from one to the other. And I told him that we were parked next to a Turkish restaurant. And he looked at me and he said, "Say that in Arabic." I just said that to you in Arabic. He said, "How long have you been in the kingdom and you haven't learned Arabic?" And I said to him, "Sir, I'm only going to say this one more time." And my wife interrupted me and said to him, "Sir, he just talked to you in Arabic." "No, he didn't." "Yes, he did." Now you understand me, but you didn't understand him. You're not listening with your ears. You're trying to listen with your eyes. You saw his jeans and his shirt, and you just immediately assume, and he gets upset when you do that. You're going to make him angry. He said, "But he didn't say anything in Arabic." My wife was like, "See, you keep on saying that, and he's going to hit you in your head and crash this car." Now, my wife didn't realize I understood that part when she was telling him, "Cut that mess out. It's not me, it's that man. Of course I have an accent. He could still understand me if he took the time to listen." That man, because it takes thinking, he immediately turned that off. And he's not the only one to do it. This is a common thing. If you can't say it in exactly the same accent, I can't understand you. Well, pronunciations change from city to city within a country. And we black folks are going to have to become masters at propaganda for our survival. In order to do that, we're going to have to understand how language changes. Even if others learn English, we may have to understand how they learn it. Some words that might mean the same thing in their language. Like, for example, the words catch and hold. In Arabic, they're the exact same. You're going to hear Arabs use catch and hold interchangeably when they're speaking English. It's a good thing to know, because then you understand that they just haven't been told the difference between catch and hold. That's all. They don't mean any harm. They're not trying to confuse you sometimes. And we are already more linguistically talented than many other people in the world are, to be honest with you. But we need to utilize that, weaponize it even. And you can't do that being a lazy nigger, pardon my French. All puns intended. You just can't. And unfortunately, there are many of us, because of the anti-intellectualism we have, many of us don't even understand that we are forced to develop the ability to code switch in many cases. And that is the beginning of it. That's the first step. Now, you can take that and utilize that for some other things and learn some other languages too, or let's say a completely different dialect of English for that matter. But unfortunately, we don't even think that far. And there's going to have to be a balance with that too. And that's why, sorry, but if you are black and you come talking to me like a white guy, I might just haul off and hit you. Like, why are you doing that? Why do you sound no different from them? But by the same token, I'm going to sympathize with them if you're in the boardroom and you can't clean it up, or rather formalize it, I should say, for them in the boardroom, and you keep talking in a way that they couldn't understand, doesn't make sense. The grammar's not correct in their formal context. I mean, we have AAVE with different rules of grammar. Same with Jamaican English. But if you're talking to them and you're inadvertently teaching them how to speak our English, I will sympathize with them when they fire your butt or they just don't promote you. I would say no, because see, they're going to have to learn to speak a different way. And I don't necessarily want them to be able to understand us. If we had a different language altogether, I would want to keep that a secret from them. But, some of us think that keeping it real means not learning certain things. I am who I am. No, nigga, you just can't learn. Or you're too lazy. That's what that is. And that's what people say when it comes down to something that takes discipline. Big as a house because I am who I am. That just means you won't push any plates of food away. Be honest. You don't have the discipline. You don't want it. Everybody's got their limits. But we use this as an excuse too much, and we've turned it into an anti-intellectualism too. I think you get the ideas that I'm trying to get at. If all you've learned is code switching but not an actual other language, start with that. Move on to a completely different dialect of English, maybe if you can pick it up or someone will explain it to you. Preferably something spoken in a black country, like one of the Caribbean islands or one of the West Coast Anglophone countries of Africa, because they have their pidgin English too. Use that as a bridge or a gateway to learn one of the Mende languages that they speak in West Africa, tribally. Get that then. You can pick up Wolof. You could pick up Mandinka. Maybe you can get someone to explain to you Fulani, or Jola, or Hausa, or Yoruba. But this is something we need to do because, see, we need to become masters of propaganda, mostly with each other, to be honest with you. Mainly just to explain certain things that are true and aren't even false with each other so that we can understand each other better. That's one of the first steps. We can pick up the other languages and start propaganda in that. And trust you me, generally speaking, we're more open to learning other people's languages if we live with them long enough and they will explain it to us bit by bit. We tend to be more open about doing this. People don't expect it from us, but we actually do tend to be more open. However, we need to be more serious about it. Not just open to it, but more serious about it, because we need to propagandize them just to get them to understand what is true, not false. We're not their enemies unless they choose to be. We do share a common enemy with them. So that being said, thanks for listening. Black Heart, Black Mind, Black Out. Assalamu alaikum. Black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it. And black patriarchy until extinction of Judgment Day.